Here, and I'm curious, for example, in a castle that the players will explore or fight in, how do you make the walls? Do you mean like how do you how to craft them? Well, obviously, however you want. Um, so a good example I was looking up because just out of view up here, you've tried to cut the foam, but it's too difficult. So I would lean towards a chunkier brick, like stone brick wall. I have a stronghold up on my shelf that I built cribbing notes and trying to follow along with um, the stronghold built by Tabletop Witchcraft. John does some really epic builds. This is probably one of his simpler ones, honestly. You know, that's the first thing I think of. I've made some walls that could probably also qualify as this. I guess I think that predominantly the bricks are going to be larger. Like I might just for a wall, I might just use something that's this thick. This is what, an inch, I think. This is a little bit under an inch, but you know, it would do just fine. Let's assume that it was straight. And I would probably go as big as this. Or at least experiment and see how that looks. Um, which may or may not be clear on camera. Now the nice part is you're not having to assemble or carve a lot. Hey, Jesse. But at the same time, that means that you can get a lot more detailed if you want. So, like here, carve this quickly. And the way that I've done carved stone like this in the past is pretty much just like this. There's nothing wrong with it. But when you have a simpler design like this, I need a peek into stream chat. So then I'll come back through and I'll make these lines thicker. And now in the past, I might do that and then basically hit it with texture, like a foil ball, and basically consider it done. And while I think that that's fine, if you were to go through, it takes some practice, but if you go through and start to peel off pieces, I think really what makes carved stone not look like carved stone, or not look like it's carved out of the wall itself, is if you start playing with the depth, right? So I'm carving in pieces kind of out of it. In some cases, an entire stone coming to a different depth than what's around it. This is also a good time to kind of go in with cracks, right? Depending on how old your castle is, some of them are going to have more than others. Cracks are also a good opportunity to then use those cuts to bevel out some more depth. Stuff like that. So that way, like once you go texture it, there's a lot more variety. Well, and see, that's the thing. The other thing with walls is that you don't necessarily, you don't have to have walls. Yeah, to some extent too, right? Like the question, there's a question of scale. If I was going to make, one dungeon wall for some reason, for like this build, where there's only going to be like a couple of walls, couple of floors. That's going to determine how much effort I want to put into it. Whereas if you're building a whole dungeon's worth of walls, it's like, okay, well, now we might want to approach it differently. Right now, what's an approach that's going to allow the most bang for your buck in terms of time? Maybe slicing a lot of like facades of stones. Like if you take instead a like a 1 inch by 2 inch block, like a column of XPS, and start cutting different lengths of that, or different size bricks from that, and then just sort of using some kind of paste or glue, just sort of stick them on. You might get the walls made faster. That's another good point too. Depending on the situation, sometimes walls, it's a trade-off, right? You're cutting down on visibility. Obviously, if I run this one shot, I've got to be aware that I can't really see anybody behind this wall. Anybody sitting on that end of the table is going to have a rough time playing in this building. So decisions, right? Which trade-offs, which ones do we want to, which problems do we want to purchase?